You already know what you should be doing right now, and you are not doing it. That gap between knowing and doing is where most of your life quietly disappears. And there is a 5-second window inside that gap that decides everything. Let me show you what happens in that window and why a trick built around it works, even though it should not. Here is the strange part most people never notice. The moment you think of doing something good for you, getting up, starting the work, sending the message, there is a tiny pause before you act. In that pause, your brain does something specific. It starts looking for reasons not to. It is not being lazy, it is doing its job. Your brain is wired to protect you from discomfort, and effort feels like discomfort. So in that small gap, it quietly builds a case. You can do it later. You are tired. You will start tomorrow. And the moment that case wins, the impulse is gone. You do not even feel like you decided. It just quietly evaporated. A woman named Mel Robbins discovered something about that gap completely by accident. She was at the lowest point of her life, struggling financially, struggling in her marriage, unable to even get out of bed in the morning. Every night she promised herself tomorrow would be different. Every morning she hit snooze and the promise died. Then one night she saw a rocket launch on television. The countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Liftoff. And the next morning, when her alarm went off, instead of lying there, she counted. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And on 1, she stood up. It worked. Not because the number 5 is special, but because of what the counting actually does. When you count backwards and then move, you interrupt the gap. You give your brain a small task, counting, that occupies it just long enough to stop it from building its case against you. By the time you reach 1, you have not given hesitation the few seconds it needs to win. You move before the excuse arrives. Psychologists would say the countdown shifts you out of autopilot and briefly wakes up the prefrontal cortex, the deciding part of your brain, before the habit of avoidance takes over. Now here is where I am going to be honest with you, because most videos will not be. There is very little hard scientific proof that this specific trick, the counting, is some magic formula. There are millions of testimonials, but very few real studies testing it directly. So if anyone tells you the 5-second rule is proven science, they are overselling it. But that does not mean it is useless, because the principle underneath it is real. The real mechanism is this. Action has a tiny window before hesitation closes it, and anything that gets you moving inside that window works. The counting is just one way to do it. You could count. You could simply move on the very first instinct. You could make the first step so small your brain does not bother resisting it. What matters is not the number. What matters is that you act before the part of you that wants to stay comfortable has time to speak. So the next time you feel that pulse, the small instinct to do the thing you know is good for you, do not wait. Do not let the gap open. Count yourself down if it helps. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and move. Because you were never really fighting laziness. You were fighting a 5-second head start that your hesitation always seems to win. Take it back.